It's my honor and privilege to be here with you on Comments with Dr. James Haney. I've been on the show once or twice before, and I've lived long enough to be able to enjoy you for the better part of my life, which is a great thing. You're one of my professors in school, and just commend you for 3 decades of providing service to the community through this particular show. So through that same 3-decade period, I've had several manifestations of evolution in my life. I started out, grew up in metro schools in Nashville, Tennessee, and I graduated from metro schools just barely. I was one of those kids who had a lot of potential, but I didn't always have focus. So when I barely got out of school, barely got into college, I was able to get into Tennessee State and meet professors like you, W. Dewey Cox, H. Devereaux Brady, and people who inspired me. So I took on a career in communications and majored in that. Ended up being Student Government Association president and had a great run there with activism and learning to be socially conscious. That's where it was put in me at that age, to be socially conscious. So from there, I founded a newspaper called The Third Eye. And for 11 years, I ran The Third Eye, talked on national public radio. I had a great little crew of dreamers who said that they were going to do great things one day, including my older brother, Greg, who was at the time in law school. Friend of mine named Van Jones, who at the time was talking about going to law school and changing the world and being a commentator. And we look back years later, my brother's the chair of Afro-American Studies at Howard, and Van Jones is the co-host of CNN's Crossfire. So I think we came around a little group of people who did some pretty good things. I did that for 11 years and then transitioned into professional theater, ran a theater company called Amun-Ra, which presented works everywhere from the Smithsonian to the National Black Theater Festival. And in that course of 11 years, wrote about 11 plays, toured the country nationally, did a few films, and all the while wanted to do things that dealt with uplifting people spiritually. So I became a licensed and ordained minister, became initiated in African traditional systems, and found a way to want to pull those things together. So now, at this space where I am now, I am a founder and chief spiritual officer of a group called the Infinity Fellowship, which is an interfaith gathering in Nashville, Tennessee, where we focus on the common elements in different faith traditions that spur people towards activism and healing issues of social justice.
And you're also involved with, as the title today indicates, housing for the homeless. And
yes, sir.
Why don't you, over the next couple of minutes, give us some information in reference to how you became involved in housing for the homeless and something about some of your experiences dealing with the homeless population. And I won't have you to talk about the time you spent sitting on top of a school in reference, but you go on.
Yeah, it seems that I'm drawn to these extreme experiences. I don't know what that is, but when I was in college, we took over the administration building at TSU, and that was the sit-in of 1990. It was became a well-known movement where we shut down the administration building. We took over, had people on the roof, and it resulted after 14 days of that and a hunger strike that was 9 days inside that, $120 million being spent on Tennessee State. So if you see the campus improvements out there, that's not how it looked when I was in school. But we very much had a movement that did that. You fast forward that to sitting on a roof for 9 days to raise money and awareness for a theater program that I was doing for young people in the inner city at Amun-Ra, where we raised almost $40,000 for scholarships for young people. I pitched a tent and lived on the roof there. So we fast forward that to last year, or this past summer actually, when I lived in a micro home, which is a 60 square foot full house, but 60 square feet, which means, 6 by 10 on an auto trailer that's been refurbished. And I lived in that for 45 days to raise the money that we needed to build what's now known as Infinity Village.
Okay, and what we're going to do, Reverend Carr, is to take this commercial break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about the housing for the homeless, as the topic indicates today. And we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break.